Welcome to the Free Brain Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of Free Brain Productions, where we talk about everything and anything and anything and everything. This is a podcast sponsored by my photography company, ProPhotoSessions.com, for your live event and portrait photography. Great to see you.
Let me ask you a question. So you said you wanted to talk about a bunch of things. Let me ask you a question about, you said about Just was talking about before this. We were just bouncing around about consciousness and about cinema.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Well, where are you when you watch a movie? Let me ask Daniel, where do you watch a movie? When you watch a movie, where are you?
You mean physically?
Usually downtown.
Where?
I'm usually in a Metrograph film form, anthology, and then other times it might be more in Midtown, which would be... I understand you're probably going a little meta with this question. But just to answer you directly, I'm also in MoMA a lot these days because it's got the best membership for all those people who want to come to New York and see a bunch of movies.
What is the membership there? What are they charging on membership?
Well, it's like $90 or $100, but the reason why it's the best membership is because it's not just $2 off or $3 off. The movies are free. So once you kick out that initial
They have
$90
screenings at MoMA, or?
all the
Always.
time.
Yeah.
So once
Famous
you have
ones.
so once you
I did not
pay
know
your $100, the movies are free.
for the year.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So to give you an example of the kind of film you would see at the moment at certain points,
Oh,
Ralph
Guard.
Bakshi premiered Coonskin there, and which was an animated film based on the Brer Rabbit stories.
Just based on the name, I hate to ask what it's about.
Oh, it's amazing. They took the Brer Rabbit stories and retold them in modern, like 1970s funk images and language, and it's Scatman Crothers is one of the stars of it. It is absolutely, and it was so controversial. Originally, there were protests against it until the people saw it, and they were like, "Wow, that's awesome." Coonskin is one of my favorite films. It is Basquiat at his best, and that's the kind of thing. But it was also like D.W. Griffith got banned from MoMA because he kept taking their cut of Intolerance and changing it and re-editing it there. Fritz Lang, same thing happened to Fritz Lang in Metropolis. They just at one point they just kicked him out and they banned him from there. So that's the kind of scene where it is when you go see a movie at MoMA. It is still impressive.
How do you get in the first place?
They would he's Fritz Lang. You gonna kick Fritz Lang out?
No, but you're not going to let him into like some cutting room.
Yeah,
or
they did.
something?
They certainly did. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
He was both
Well,
Griffith
then why
and Lang
kick him
had
out?
to happen
And
with.
then why kick him out?
I
Come
wonder
on,
how-
man.
Remember, this is an age where they didn't have like the
No, I
print
understand. but
copies.
still.
It's like a whole thing.
Yeah, that's really
Still.
interesting. I
Anyway,
wonder
I want to see
how
his.
many
I want to see his cut of Intolerance.
Right. I wonder how many filmmakers back then were so limited by the physical film who wanted to do like series or the things that people do now. But it was just so expensive back then.
But they did them just fine. They did more of them. I mean, think about Hollywood
And better.
at its height.
But there were less of them.
Well, no, Hollywood at its height would generate
No, they're cranking them out.
350 films a year.
Yeah,
Mostly Nickelodeons.
we just don't.
No,
know
not
what's
Nickelodeons.
going
This is.
Feature
We are talking 1950s. In the 1950s, feature production. Well, B films too, right?
Sure.
There would
But
be an
those
A
are
and B
feature films, though.
film, and
And that's just Hollywood. We're not talking about like India.
No.
Much
Well,
less
Italy,
in
it's
Europe.
generating 500.
Yeah.
Well,
and
yeah,
India
that's
around
France was cranking
550,
them out.
yeah, something
Japan
like that.
was doing it. I just saw these awesome 80s teenager Japanese films at Japan Society. Obayashi, are you familiar with him?
No,
Okay.
I'm not.
He's
actually.
great. He did a series of like teenager films from his hometown, which I can't remember what it's called now, but they're just really super engaging, depending on what you're into. But I like the '80s. I like Japan. I like teenage dramas, and they're super sweet. One's called like The Girl Who Conquered Time, which is like a little bit of a time loopy, travel-y kind of comedy, while she's also kind of falling in love with two, boys at the same time. And then this other super sweet travelogue film was called The Island Closest to Heaven, which was, a young girl has a conversation with her father, and he tells her a story about there's an island out there, the island that's closest to heaven, and all you have to do is ask God to go there, and all the people are happy. And she goes to New Caledonia to try to find it. And they're just super sweet, super endearing, fun, very well edited, super well shot. And I really recommend him. Obayashi made a bunch of films, I think mostly in the 80s is when he was really at his heyday. But if you get a chance, check him out. I just kind of got like a tip from somebody coming out of a Bridget Lynn film at Metrograph, and this guy's really into all things Japanese. That's his main jam. But he like dabbles in Chinese movies too. I don't think he sees anything beyond that, but I see him all the time because whenever I'm at one of these films, I always run into him. His name's Jim. Shout out to you, Jim, wherever you might be. So yeah, Japan Society. It's never been there before. It's another interesting institution and a nice place to see films.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's nice.
Was Japan into film in before World War II?
They've always made
was
great films.
And some of the greatest silent films ever made were Japanese too. There's one called, I think, The Mask of Madness. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, that movie is awesome.
That movie is amazing, and it's in public domain, so I'm actually going to use it for something. But anyhow, it is an absolutely brilliant film. No, Japan is a really solid. Actually, when you really think about it, international film culture in the silent cinema was extraordinary. Because remember, films, because they were silent, could travel to any other country. So all you had to do to change the language was change the slates. And that was very easy.
Yeah, there was one thing unique about Japanese silent films is that they had an actor portray with sound the roles that were being portrayed in the film. So it's like this strange tradition where somebody actually is kind of talking and singing along each of the characters as you're watching a silent film.
That's
so it's
so
really
cool.
wild.
But is that
There's
any
still a
different
few-
than the live accompaniment of an orchestra? Really, in a sense?
Well, he's saying the words and stuff. I mean, he's actually.
Well, I mean, it's just.
It's kind of like an opera with
like a
screen.
musical
Yeah,
accompaniment.
I would say it's quite different actually. But beyond that, it's just a unique cultural expression that comes out of Japan that's really fascinating. There are still a couple guys that still do it. I saw two of them over the past few years where they brought somebody over from Japan to speak and sing along. So if it's like a baby, they'll do like a baby voice, or if it's an old person, they do like
That's
an
so
old
cool.
voice and all that stuff. It is kind of pretty cool. The
There's a
audience didn't
certain
know what to make of it,
romanticism
which
to
gets
that.
me to a broader thing. I don't know if you've been running into it, but younger audiences' discomfort with certain subjects in film, and then they start laughing, and it's a really weird, like, retro teenage moment that I find myself in sometimes in the
What do you mean?
like, what are these people laughing about? Like, there's nothing funny. It's just they're grown-up people. I imagine they're at least fairly well educated in film, because why else would they be at Anthology on a Tuesday night watching Greed or something like that?
I would
But
imagine
then
there's some cultural
somebody's
subtext.
starving and they're laughing at it because they're starving in the 20s with silent style acting, and it can be really, really awful and disturbing. I found that a couple times, especially in the last couple of years, where something very serious is happening on screen and people will start laughing because, geez, I don't know why. You know, we've talked about it a lot after seeing some of these, but Greed was really horrible. We had a whole bunch of very...
I love that film. It's one of my favorite films.
Well, Greed had a whole bunch of people that would not stop laughing at all of the terrible things that were happening to
Could
the
be
characters.
nervous.
Yeah, it was nervous, or they're laughing at like I said, the acting style, or they just don't know what to do with that subject matter, or such a long lens of time that they're viewing this thing from, or just having grown up around constant satire, constant irony, they don't even know how to handle like extended sincerity or something, and so they just start laughing. But Greed was really weird. Like, Greed had us sort of getting together after the movie, all my friends who went and saw the movie, just trying to really break it down. Like, what was that? Like, that was really creepy.
What is Greed?
Yeah, Greed's a silent film.
It is the greatest movie ever made. It is absolutely a film that it destroyed the studio making. The director, it was Preminger, right?
Yeah.
It's Preminger. Yeah, so basically Preminger. There's a great moment you ever see, like when they made a film called The War of the Roses with Dan DeVito, and Dan DeVito, like in his prep for it, goes outside and looks at the forest and goes, "Get rid of these trees! Cut down all of these trees!"
Yeah.
That's Preminger. That's the way he shot this film. That's the way he made this film. He couldn't finish it. It got too expensive, and it is a personal drama. It's not like a drama that's like it's not a special effects film. It's literally a story about a woman that inherits a whole bunch of money and it destroys her life and the life of everyone around her, all of her lovers.
Yeah, isn't that hilarious?
And
I
it's,
mean,
yeah,
it's like it
It's
was
got
crazy.
a certain irony to it.
but it's a
crazy.
brilliant film. It's
Yeah.
absolutely visually. I mean, the acting, everything about it is a brilliant film. But he clearly couldn't let go of the film, and it just destroyed Preminger.
Yeah.
After that, Preminger is fundamentally an actor. Would you see him in Stalag 17 most famously?
Yeah.
Where he, with the light, throws on the Nazi boots. Like, that's really who Preminger is. He's a brilliant man. I mean, and Greed remains one of the greatest films of all time. And I think the issue, I hate to sort of put it this way, but those people you saw there were probably the children that were in the movie theater 20 years ago when I saw the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
They couldn't shut the fuck up. And that's about when I stopped going to the movies because I couldn't take it anymore. It was a row of
It was a painful experience. I'll say that.
No, I saw it. It was a
Can we
row
get
of
editors to check on the director of Greed, though? I want to know. I want to do some fact checking if we can, just
to make sure it's Preminger.
Yeah, let's make sure.
Yeah, just check. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just really disturbing, and I've noticed it a couple times with really, really great films. Some good news. I went and saw Qui-Gon, which is a great film. We're ended up talking about films. We can go conscious as soon as you want, but which is a wonderful film by Kobayashi, and I went and saw it because
Kobayashi is one of the greats, right?
yeah, he is. He made probably one of my favorite movies, which is Human Condition, but he didn't make a lot of movies. So I'd only seen Human Condition, so it was kind of strange to have this person that made like maybe the greatest film I'd ever seen, and that I never had seen another thing that this person made. So luckily, Qui-Gon is awesome, so there was no disappointment there. But almost those people like started to laugh at a couple of these intense moments, and the audience didn't roll with it. They like kind of shut it down. Maybe it was a more serious audience, maybe an older audience, I don't know. But it was nice that like, woo, that couldn't gain any kind of traction. Because Intolerance, you mentioned Intolerance, that happened with Intolerance too. Like they come and like rip the baby out of the woman's arms. Isn't that hilarious? And people were laughing.
It's so odd.
It's
The only
just
experience I had with that
weird.
was when I saw The Room,
Yeah,
but it's supposed to be
yeah.
like that. They would throw spoons at
Yeah.
the screen because.
Oh, if there's some like midnight
I've
movie
never
culture
really
of
had
tradition
a-
or something, that's one thing. Hey,
Yeah, that's
while
so
we're talking
odd.
about movies, John, have you seen the Wachowski Speed Racer?
I have seen Speed Racer. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, I'm
Just
not.
wondering.
It's okay. I mean, it's
Okay.
one of these films. It's like
Yeah.
it's one of those films. I'm watching. I'm like wondering why I'm watching it.
Mm.
It's not like it's not one of those things where it's like I'm looking at this. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a movie like I want to see. This is where I want to be.
Did you see it at the cinema?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
But I hate to sort of put it this way. But again, I've turned cold to cinema too because again, I'm just sick of.
Gotcha.
I mean, okay, so Scorsese describes this. Okay, you go into the cinema, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you sit in a dark room, and a light comes on from behind you,
Yeah.
and you're not there anymore.
Right?
You're on that screen. You're somewhere in there,
Yeah.
and other people have become so vastly irritating
the
to
fact
me
check.
that I don't want to be. I don't want to be
Yeah,
in. What
I
was
thought
it? So
it's von Stroheim.
it's von Stroheim. Fuck me. I knew. Fucking.
I thought you did too, but I didn't want to.
That's why I said Preminger.
I didn't
That's why I
wanna
said
jump ya.
Preminger.
jump in the
Stroheim.
podcast
Fucking
like
Stroheim. I fucking knew that
that.
too.
Yeah.
This
Well,
is
you had the
good.
whole kind of story down and stuff like that about what happened to him and everything. And the more you kind of talked about it, the more I was pretty sure it was von Stroheim.
This is what I was talking about, the
Yeah.
fact checking. You can't fake anything.
No, but that was but it's because I'm saying I'm like
Yeah.
Preminger. I'm like, this is Preminger because I knew it was Stroheim.
Yeah, I know. I knew
All
you
the
did.
information is out
I
there.
knew you did. That's why we checked on it. I
Anyhow.
know.
But yeah, so you sit down in a movie
Yeah.
theater, right?
Yeah.
And you watch the
Gets
screen.
back to the original question. I like it.
And where are you, right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm in the movie theater with a fucking 20-year-old,
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking be there. Like
Yeah.
I want to be on that screen. I want to be wherever that place is.
Yeah.
And that's what's turned me cold to cinema. It's because the fact that it's the same thing that's turned me cold to theater. I mean, I'll still do dance performances because again, it's a level. I mean, at this point, if you're going to a dance performance,
Yeah.
it's such a rarefied crowd that everyone cares. It's not like it's you're not going to see like the Alvin Ailey Dance Company, you know, on like on a date, you know, like it's.
Right.
I mean, it's like you're going there because you really want to see Alvin Ailey.
Well, why would you go see on a freezing cold Tuesday night? Why would you go see Greed? if you weren't somewhat invested, somewhat educated in film.
Because you want to get laid.
The college kids.
Yeah, I mean, it's right there. It's anthology. It's right there. I mean, yeah. I mean, like.
Well, if that's the case, then you could get just as laid from a dance performance for sure. Hey, have you ever seen the South Park? The South Park
Excellent
Broadway
segue.
musical. Well, have you ever seen it where he hears that if you take your wife to like a Broadway musical, you'll probably get lucky in the end, and he gets very confused. But then somebody explains like subtext to him, and that's how it operates. It's a nice little like story arc, by the way, and an interesting investigation of Broadway musicals, and also kind of the kind of broligarchy that's kind of dominated the Broadway creation and composition sort of scene. So anyway, I recommend it to you if you haven't seen it. I'm not going to give any more information. I'd rather you guys just go in.
The South Park episode? Oh,
Yeah, I mean, if you appreciate them and their humor. And I think
I love
South Park
South Park,
might
yeah.
lead into why people like laugh at anything now, too, because they've just grown up with that since they were like children, where everything's just fair game for satire. It doesn't really matter. Or they don't know what is and what isn't because it just seems like everything is. And then so when they see someone acting in a silent movie style or something that
Just
they've
not used
seen
to it.
parodied, like someone getting their baby taken from them, they think that they're supposed to laugh at that as opposed to being able to handle the serious emotions of the fact that that actually happened to people and how terrible it would be. Like
Maybe.
really true.
But I would have a lot of respect for someone that
Yeah.
didn't like giggle laugh, but like laughed out loud. Like, ah! Oh my God, that
Yeah.
shot killed me. Ah!
Yeah.
Like that guy I respect. It's
Well,
a
that's
giggler I
becoming
don't
a
like.
huge problem in, I think, today's society. Is people do not know history. They're just so out of touch. It's like everything is so focused on the present, the future. People don't study history, and so they're not really aware of perspective and how things relate to each other. They don't know how to
Yeah.
understand certain situations, perhaps.
I'm not sure where you're from, but that's been my experience my whole life for the most part. And with
Yeah, Americans are very ahistorical people in
Americans.
general.
It's an American thing, I think. Having lived in other places, I remember I have a friend who's from Europe. He grew up in Germany, but I think he's actually of Serbian origin. But we were having an open studios one night, and somebody kind of walked in and said we were asking them how they like New York or whatever. I think it was maybe a Russian woman, and she said, "Oh, I've just heard all these things about America and all these stereotypes, and just I just find that they're really I don't know where they all come from. I'm like having the best time here and stuff." And she left, and I thought to myself, "Oh, I should have asked her what were these stereotypes that she heard about Americans." And then I thought, "Oh well, my friend Michael, he's not American. Hey, Michael." Did you hear any stereotypes about Americans when you were young? And he like listed off a couple of things, but like they're all totally true. So it's like, well, all right. Well, then I don't know. We don't know what that means. That just seems like facts about Americans. Like they don't read, they don't know history, stuff like that. They don't know geography. Like he was trying to like really sincerely come up with some of these. I'm like, well, Michael, I don't know if those really count as like stereotypes. Or I guess in some definition they do, but they're also just kind of like true. So yeah, Americans by and large don't know much about history. That's just true.
Well,
And
it's
they
also
really kind of
consequence of
resent it
I
a
think
little bit,
I
too.
think it's also part coming from immigrant culture. I mean, the fact is that most people who came here to the United States came here because things weren't good from where they came from. I mean, in fact, I would say the great bulk of people who came to the United States came here because they were trying to get away from where they were because it was really bad there. And really bad things people don't like to remember.
Plus, we did
And-
all kinds of bad things here to get the land. So you don't want to remember that either. You're not going to keep focusing on that all the time.
Well,
It's like,
especially
"Ooh,
when you
I know,
strip the land
we're
off
all
some
brand
people for
new.
others.
It's all a fresh new start here in America.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
America's
nothing
famous
was
for new
happening
starts,
here.
fresh
Nothing
starts.
Nothing was happening here. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing about America, right? It's about, the fresh start, the self-made person, the ahistorical moment.
Yeah, it's a lot of things.
Yeah,
and
so I
and
think
also
that
just the
leads
fact
into it.
that the culture here revolves mainly around just working, capitalism.
That's
like,
true.
Like
A lot of
I,
work.
I mean, I was born in Russia. I was born
Yeah.
in Moscow. I came
Yeah.
here when I was 4 years old. I, went to high school. I grew up here and everything.
Where'd you go to high school?
In New Jersey, in Old Bridge.
Old Bridge.
like 4,000 kids. It
Nice.
was
What was the name of the high school?
Old Bridge High School.
Old Bridge High School.
Yeah, very creative.
What's the mascot? Do you mind if I ask you?
The Trojan Knight.
No, there you go.
Absolutely.
Trojans.
100%.
Does Sky High have a mascot?
Everyone has a mascot.
Stuyvesant High School have
Yeah.
the peg legs.
Nice.
So-
Yeah, it's just
pirate?
nothing like a syphilitic Dutchman.
Yeah.
Nothing like that's like a
Yeah.
yes, it's
Yeah, I love it. That makes so much
something
sense.
that's a syphilitic
The
Dutchman
peg
who
legs.
literally had to be
That's
pulled
awesome.
off
Yeah.
the wall at Wall Street as
Yeah.
he stood there alone opposing the British.
That is a mascot to be proud of.
Yes, that's
Yeah, I
that's
think
that's
so. That
the
one's
peg legs.
great.
And the mascot
Good
of
job,
City
Sky
College
High.
is the beaver.
Okay.
The mighty beaver, yes. The
I have
beaver
a
that
lot
built
of
New
respect for
York.
beavers. Yeah. The beaver that built New York.
They are
I love
essential
it.
to the
That's
ecosystem.
awesome.
The Astor
Yeah,
family,
beavers
yeah.
are awesome.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Actually, beavers are pretty cool. Actually,
Beavers are pretty
I mean, they are.
Yeah.
They're. We base a lot of our innovations and dams and
Yeah.
everything off of
Yeah.
the beaver.
And Trojans are the lovable losers. They're the most famous losers of all time, those Trojans, man. People just love them.
I had a great experience in high school, but I was just gonna get to the fact that
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Americans, they focus mostly on working and capitalism and
but again,
they don't
it's the sense of the
value
atomized existence.
intellectualism, I think. You know, the American public school system, as an example, is just, you know,
They don't.
it's
They don't distrust
they don't have their
that. They don't
priorities.
like it. Well, they just don't like it. They don't.
Oh,
trust
hold
it.
on,
They
hold on,
don't-
hold
they
on,
don't
okay,
like-
hold on,
yeah.
okay. So there is no such thing as an American public school system. That just doesn't exist. We are not like, a European country with a national education program.
It's in the culture.
It's-
I was is more broad. It's
no,
in the
I mean, like,
culture.
seriously, like, if you see what education is in a place like Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very different thing when education is in New York.
Absolutely.
Now, in terms
Education
of...
is really taken seriously here with the universities. I'll give you that.
No, I mean, but
But
even
overall,
even
even now, colleges has become a scam.
even at the high school and grade school level, at the moment, the focus is and the funding is for STEM, and it's really there, and they really do provide, and there is a real push on trying to engineering up.
And that's great, you know. But I think that leads to some kind of lack of knowledge in history, geography, and all these stereotypes
Yeah.
that arise. But, you know, AI, innovation, becoming wealthy, Silicon Valley, you know.
I mean, but again,
it's got
it's
its ups and
but
downs. I'm
I
not
mean,
saying something's...
Yeah, but I mean, for example,
No, I don't like it. I prefer that they be able to understand history and be able to analyze things.
Wouldn't
You know,
that
one
be
of the
great?
worst things we did kind of on purpose, and then we had to like try to figure out what to do after it was such a mess, was just to wipe everything out that had to deal with any sort of reflection or opening of the heart or analytical skills. Just try to get everybody to read, everybody be good at math. And then they realized that that wasn't working. In fact, now they couldn't do anything and they still couldn't read and they still were bad at math.
Yeah.
And so now they really, really start to scramble.
Having a strong foundation in holistics, I think, is just overall makes you a good...
Yeah, they
More-
know. They whatever. We weren't going to go political here, but it was pretty much on purpose. It seemed to me, as someone who worked in education a lot and was hired as a consultant to try to help these dire situations that were occurring all over high schools and middle schools and grammar schools all over the country.
But it's even interesting. I was talking
Yeah,
to
it's
my
crazy.
barber today,
Yeah.
and I
What'd
don't
he
know. We got into the
What's
topic.
your barber's name? Oh, sorry. I just like know people's names.
Yeah, excellent place next door. But
Oh, he's going political. See, he had to check himself.
yeah, I'm trying to.
Let's go
Yeah.
back to
No,
consciousness.
but
We'll go away
I'm a
from the
little
politics.
skeptical what you guys hear
Yeah.
about the youth today and being ahistorical. I mean, if anything,
Oh,
I see.
never said that. It's been there my whole life.
Oh,
long.
no, but I mean-
And I'm pretty old now.
But hold on a second.
yeah.
If I was to go out today and for any issue of any controversy, I could, in literally 5 minutes, find some piece of history related to that, even down to the full Wikipedia entry. And it would have a pretty, honestly, generally okay description of the controversies, what's going on. And people today do check that stuff and do look at that stuff. Now, they don't have it with the same depth and the same breadth that an expert would of a certain time, which we did used to have in the United States. We used to have actual intellectuals and actually have them on broadcast. I mean, at a certain point in American history, like John Dewey was a famous person. I mean, can you imagine a philosopher actually being? I mean, Richard Rorty, at the height of Rortiness, was at least known. So, I mean, we do have a tradition of intellectuals and historians and throughout our culture. The issue, I think, is that there has been a certain level of sloppiness that has slipped into our general discourses in general.
I thought your point was more about the general population. Not that we don't have brilliant people here, because of course that's true.
But even the general population, I can pull up Wikipedia tomorrow. I get any high school kid will pick it up right now.
Conversations with people. I'm just talking about having conversations with, like, anybody you might come across in the street, and their knowledge of history, literature, and geography. And my own personal experience is when I'm in other countries, it is way, way more deep and broad than what it is with America. I used to give, like, quizzes and questionnaires, like, for, like, school projects to, like, my cousins and neighbors and stuff like that. I was astonished. They didn't know anything about anything, and they didn't care, and they didn't reflect on it. And that was a shock to me, and I never really noticed it being that different other places. I would say New York is an exception, because a lot of the people that are, like, wildly curious, a lot of them come to New York. A lot of people come to New York because they want to be around other people that aren't like the people that they're growing up with. But with my experiences living abroad and being abroad, just general stuff, where other countries are, what happened 300 years ago,
which wasn't that long ago.
Some excellent novels, that you read. I mean, that's just been my experience. And obviously, other people travel to other places and have different experiences. But personally, with me, I've always been astonished how much people that I was running into on a daily basis before I moved to New York. How much they knew.
But how much is that going to get you working at a Walmart? I mean, to a certain extent.
Well, that's why you're working at Walmart.
That's a totally different.
No, it's not. Remember, you're in a capitalist economy. Some people have to work at the Walmart. Yeah. So you're the guy working at the Walmart. I'm sorry.
Right.
The idea if you're reading proofs at the Walmart, I'm going to shoot myself.
No.
I mean, I'll be blunt with you, man. I mean, like, think about it.
Yeah.
There's certain you have
that
society.
That doesn't counter the point, though. You're saying, like, why that might be the case. I'm not questioning why. We're just stating that that is the case. I mean, if we want to go into the whys of the case, that's fine. But we're just stating that that is the case, at least as far as, like, we see it in our lives. And I grew up in America and have talked to lots of Americans, and then I've been other places and talked to a lot of them, and there's a big noticeable difference.
But what do they know about then? Because they have to know about something.
That's a wonderful question.
Sure.
What's the latest trending series on Netflix?
Maybe.
Or other...
What people are talking about on The View?
Right. It's mostly gossip.
People Magazine, that was really huge for a long, long time. I saw lots of People's. Yeah. Oh, sports. What Jose Reyes is hitting, this season. Lots of that. There's deep
the latest
sports
tweet?
Knowledge, especially among men.
I mean,
I could always start up a conversation with any dude I ran into, because I knew about sports and stuff like that. There are lots of people who know a lot about sports. Yeah.
Before we started, I told myself that I would try to keep this positive. This
right.
podcast positive.
Sure.
No, but I mean, seriously, what is it about sports then that makes people? I mean, what is it about? Because again,
competition.
I'll be blunt with you.
Right.
Well, hold on a second. I mean, is it just competition? Because that's an addiction.
Yeah.
It's also belonging to a team.
It's entertainment, it's aesthetic. There's a lot of things that people love about sports. It's a great way to cram your brain with stuff so that you don't have to think about those other things like proofs when you're working at Walmart.
That's why the Romans.
But why would you fill your brain with sports and not something else? That's my question is again, what makes sports possible?
Yeah.
What makes sports opiating in a way that allows pretty much everyone to consume it to an endless quantity, even though we know that the people who play sports are mostly getting physically damaged by it. Usually pro athletes most don't have a positive run throughout their most entire life. I mean, really, if you look at, for example, I still remember Jim McMahon from the New York Giants. He is absolutely a brutalized now.
It's very instinctual, actually.
Yeah, Jim
Our
McMahon's
evolution
had a
has
rough
built us to seek victory.
And to
And
ignore
it's
the
mostly-
consequences of it.
Generally
Yeah.
speaking, it's mostly
Jim
men who
McMahon.
watch sports, and it's in our DNA to win, to fight.
No, I mean it's
to
the
compete.
largest growing demographic in sports is women now too, and it's absolutely
that's now.
especially with the advent of
Yeah.
female soccer. I mean, is it competition there too?
I think there's a lot of things going
Yeah.
on. But having just like worked on this production of Fahrenheit 451, I think there's some truth to it's something you can stuff your brain with so that you don't really have to think about stuff.
A
It
distraction.
really works well in that regard. It's a total distraction. You can watch this beautiful game of like the most like exquisite, examples of the human species of a certain extent, like going like at it against each other. When it's over, you can kind of hear people break it down later. Then you can go to the bar and talk about like what you saw with your friends. Then you wake up in the morning and you can turn on ESPN to hear the latest rumors and stuff. You can go nonstop on that. You can go 24/7 just by being in sports, and you never have to think about anything else again ever. And yet at the same time, there's something at least satisfying from an intellectual standpoint because you're kind of analyzing who's better than
Statistics.
whom. Yeah, if I were to trade this guy for that guy, these guys could do. The reason this team's so hot is because they've got more excellent 3-point shooters, and we're moving away from the big man now. You can just you can suck down so much time and then never really reflect on anything ever.
And sports has been around for thousands of years. I mean,
Yes.
even during the Roman times when
Yeah.
the emperor was having bad ratings, if you want
Yeah.
to call it, they would
Yeah.
set up a gladiator match
Yeah, they
and
would.
get all the people together. They built the Colosseum for that reason, to boost morale and keep people entertained. Are you not entertained?
Yeah, and
I
in
mean,
Byzantium supposedly it was really, really
been
rough.
around for
Like
thousands of
everybody
years.
had like one of 4 charioteer teams, and they would get hyper violent based on who would win or who were successful. It was really a big deal supposedly in the Byzantine Empire.
The Mayans used
Yeah.
sport for,
Yeah.
for sacrifices to the gods.
Yeah.
The winning team sometimes would.
I mean, it's
killed.
also it's the same thing. It's Roman funerary tradition. It's actually the
What's the,
gladiatorial tradition emerges out of the fact that what would happen on the death of a patrician was that the slaves would be sacrificed to whatever attendant god, and there would also be a committance. That's one of the main reasons why actually Romans would free their slaves on death. So that didn't happen, right?
Did
Because
Mel
it's-
Gibson make a Mayan Aztec movie?
He made
All done in Mayan?
yeah.
Apocalypto.
or
Apocalypto,
something?
yeah.
Did
Yeah,
you guys
yeah.
see it? I haven't seen it.
It's okay.
Okay, just
It's
curious.
it's a pretty good film. It's not as good as a. It's honestly his best film so Braveheart. But he never really did better than Braveheart. Yeah, I mean,
I
The,
haven't
the
seen
Patriot
Braveheart.
was pretty good, but it wasn't, epic scale. The
What?
Patriot. I like that one.
Yeah.
I
That
mean,
was the-
it's. I mean, I read the novel when I was a kid. So.
It's just him killing a bunch of redcoats with a Hamatak was
Yeah.
just.
It was the birth of Heath Ledger, though,
It had
right?
something
That was
in
his introduction to the
Yeah,
role.
that's his big intro. I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was on a TV show first.
The
before that.
Knight's
Yeah.
Tale. That was a great one too.
Yeah, Heath Ledger.
What's that one?
Gone
Knight's
too
Tale?
soon.
It was a Knight's Tale. I forget
It's
that one.
like a
Right.
postmodern medieval comedy, if I remember
Hmm.
correctly.
With jousting, lots of jousting.
Yeah.
Winning the heart of a princess by losing the joust.
He died from just being a drug addict? Is that what happened with Heath?
That's what they're
Heath
saying. It's
Ledger?
an overdose.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Alcohol, opioid combination.
Oh, yeah, that's terrible.
That'll
Probably
do
fentanyl.
it.
Oh,
No,
It's
that
a-
was
it's
before
the whole
fentanyl.
fentanyl thing.
Yeah.
That was before fentanyl.
Is that what took Prince down,
No,
too,
that's
in the end?
what you think.
Oh yeah.
That's
like
that's
that?
we see what there was a whole wave of
Yeah.
guys that just started dying from like it was heroin. No, this is fentanyl cut with it.
Yeah.
That's
I
what's
would-
going on. That's why all these guys have
What
died.
took
I-
Prince down? Do you guys know? Was that
It's
also
fentanyl.
Yeah.
So it's all
I
fentanyl.
always thought it was
It fucks the dose
because
up.
people
Yeah.
would relapse
They
and then
can't
they would
tell.
start with the dose that they
Yes.
ended with, and they
that
would
is
no longer be
correct.
tolerant.
And that is a big one. That actually happened to a friend of ours. And but the
Horrifying.
fact is that what further threw that off
Mm-hmm.
was them cutting it with fentanyl.
Mm.
Because fentanyl's a lot stronger, and
Sure.
it kicks a lot harder and faster. So that's what like all these guys.
What is fentanyl
sad.
even for? I mean, I understand it's
It's synthetic
a-
opioid.
Yeah,
And there's just levels of
but
opioids. you have
in
to
what
produce.
cases would be appropriate to use fentanyl?
I think
I'm
a horse.
just- Is it like that?
I think it's like that shit. Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. You would
Yeah,
There's-
generally prescribed for the worst of cases.
Yeah.
And what they said made it different and supposedly not addictive was a change of one molecule, which is
Yeah.
why it was also synthetic. They actually built it up,
Yeah.
but it's still just as addictive as any other opioid.
Horrifying.
That's
yeah.
No, it's no joke. It's no joke. It's
Horrifying.
actually worse than a lot of opiates.
Isn't
Yeah,
even
you really
necessary.
see like
Yeah,
you've
you
seen
can never
junkies. Like
tell
a
what's
person can be like
lethal.
a solid junkie for 40, 50 years. Really, that's kind of the ugly thing about heroin is that it really, other than you being addicted to it, it really doesn't do anything to you. In fact, it may even slow your metabolism, kind of even elongate. Like that's the reason why burros live so long. Fentanyl is not like that at all.
No, it just kills you.
It fucking
I also
kill you.
think you can live a long time as a junkie on heroin if you got some money. I mean, I think if you're like
Well,
William
it's
S.
clean,
Burroughs
it's
or
clean junk.
yeah, if
Yeah,
you're
it's
like
clean
that
junk.
or Nikki Sixx or
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of Keith from the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to Switzerland every couple months to get blood transfusions and stuff, then you could probably live a long time on
Well,
heroin.
Burroughs wasn't getting any blood
Yeah.
transfusions. It's just a question of quality. The quality
No, but
of the
Keith
drug.
Richards was.
Well,
At
yeah,
least
Keith
that
Richards.
that was the rumor back in the day that he would go to Switzerland like every month to get like a whole new whole new body of blood.
Well,
That's,
I think so, I
that's
think
the rock
yeah.
and roll lifestyle. Hey, have you seen The Dirt
That's
about
clever.
Motley Crue, by the way?
No,
their
what's this?
documentary.
Yeah, it's a biopic. It's like this very cheap kind of like television, almost like a, almost more like a miniseries, even though I guess it was kind of a feature length film. But one thing about Nikki Sixx, I just want to say, is that not only is he a genius rock visionary and songwriter, but he also knew like to the greatest bands are the ones that live the longest. Don't just have the hits, but they figure out a way to mythologize themselves and be like larger than life. And what a great way to be larger than life than to make a movie celebrating like the excesses of your rock and roll life. So now there's actually this completely fictitious mythologization of Motley Crue, just cementing their immortality in the
Yeah, Robbie
in the
Williams is
rock,
doing that now,
in the
too.
rock pantheon. I'm sure everyone will do it, but it's good that they did their own as opposed to having some shitty ass like Bob Dylan movie that just came out, or all the other kind of biopics, or like Jamie Foxx's
Some
Ray
of them are
Charles.
pretty good.
I'm sure some of them are great. I really am, but they're just there's a certain kind of
Authenticity.
no. There's a kind of sickly sweet like worshipfulness to some of those that I found that The Dirt just kind of like bypassed by not making any bones about it. It's not trying to really be real at all, or it's just saying like our lives were so extreme, but even if we showed you the reality, it would just be like just as entertaining. And anyway, it's not great. And if you don't like Motley Crue, you'd probably get nothing out of it. But I do respect Nikki Sixx for having the vision from the time he was like a kid all the way through to now. Like just to make like the Crue the biggest, whatever LA, whatever hair band of all time, or metal band or whatever. Well, he's got a great. One of the lines I caught from him that I really liked was, he wanted his band to be David Bowie thrown into a blender with the Sex Pistols and Black Sabbath. And he went out and made it happen. And so God bless him. A lot of people, I don't know what they think about him, but he was a great rock star, I think, or is, because he's still with us.
He's still alive, right?
He's still rocking. Yeah, they have John 5 now on lead guitar. Because I think Mick Mars has that like degenerative spine disease, so he can't perform anymore. But yeah. So,
He was also, I think, he was always the oldest member of the band.
yeah, and he always had the disease for his whole life. So he was sick even when they were, on top and stuff. He was still
for him.
having a rough go of it. But yeah, I've seen John 5 do a couple of things. He just seems like a very, very sweet guy that loves rock and roll. I saw like somebody bring him into a record, maybe like a guitar museum or something. And they're like, here's Paul Stanley's, original Star Child guitar, and here's what, Bo Diddley played on. And he kind of knew all about them and was so happy, and then he would like play some stuff on like each of the guitars, but he just was one of those people that, I mean, you can't tell if you don't know the person, but had such an open, warm vibe about him that you could see why anybody would want to work with this guy. I mean, if he could play guitar great and he's bringing this warm, loving spirit all the time, like who wouldn't want him in their band or to jam with and stuff like that? So yeah, shout out to John 5
Sweet.
of Motley Crue. Yeah.
I don't know, the next thing I'm going to see is the new film by Mike Leigh. Like Mike Lee's coming out with something new, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to
A
that.
lot of people say that movie's great.
I mean, it's Mike Lee. It can't be bad. It's just impossible. It's Mike Lee. He's I
won't
think
be
he's
bad.
the greatest and the only relevant director, anything worth his salt as a director today. I think because the only one who's doing anything different. In fact, the guy has still not once walked in with a script, and every time he comes out with the work of genius. I mean,
I got nothing bad to say about him, and I'm sure the movie's great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just love the idea of the fact that it's everything is just made with the actors from scratch. It's gonna come out and it's gonna be a great film, and it's.
No, it is out. It's playing. all
Oh,
the
is it already
time.
out
Yeah.
already? Yeah, I haven't even had a chance to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's playing, and now the theaters are all doing. They're all playing the same movie. A lot of them, maybe at slightly different times, but whatever the hot indie movies,
Mhm.
you can kind of see them at various locations now. So I know that is playing currently right now at Lincoln Center.
Okay.
Yeah, what's it called? Like rough times, love time. You want to check it out and see what the new one's called. But yeah, it's supposed to be great. I've heard nothing but really good things about it.
Yeah, I think he's doing what I have any interest in anymore. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's if I'm going to see a movie, I just need it to be like something different, and it's
Sure.
not gonna be. I'm not gonna get anything different from Hollywood. Certainly, I'm not gonna get
Probably
anything.
not.
I don't think I'm gonna get anything of interest, to be honest.
Probably not.
I mean, Scorsese's always good,
Yeah.
but outside of that, right now, I'm not seeing it. I mean, it's a question of like it's a question of like what's the point of the cinema? I don't even understand why I'm in like when I see a movie these days, I don't even know why it's a movie. Like it's like a lot of these things just look like extended television cuts.
Yeah. Well,
New movies, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's why the Marvel movies were so successful, because that is made for cinema, And the future is obviously at-home streaming.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, is it made for
Yeah.
cinema or is it made for green screen? I mean, that's the thing. It's just a giant green screen.
Most of the movies you could enjoy perfectly fine
Mm-hmm.
at home in bed with your own popcorn.
I wouldn't want to
and
see
on a
Fury
laptop.
Road,
like-
in bed on the screen.
You could get a projector for like $100.
Yeah,
That's
not
a
me.
lot.
Now, how
I mean,
was
it's
Fury
like-
Road?
Awesome.
But the cinema
Was that Fury? I mean,
experience is really good.
was it Fury?
I'm talking about Fury Road. I'm not talking about Furiosa, which I
Okay.
haven't seen. Fury Road is awesome.
What is that? What is it?
It's one of the more recent. Now it's the second most recent in the Mad Max universe.
Yes, Charlize Theron,
Yeah.
and it's Mel Gibson not playing Mad Max. That is a brilliant
Yeah.
film.
Yeah,
It's
it's
absolutely one of
great.
the greatest. So why didn't you see Furiosa?
I had a weird feeling about it. I'm second guessing it now. Somebody made a good case for it recently, and said it was a great film. I kind of trust this guy. I just got a bad sense about it, and my instincts are usually pretty good. If I've got mixed feelings about a movie, it's rare that I go in and I'm like, "Wow, I was totally wrong about that." And usually, if I really have a good, strong feeling about it, I'm usually pretty good. Every now and then I like swing and miss, but for the most part, my instincts are good. I don't know why or what it's based on, but I just something felt off about Furiosa to me. You know what? I was also a little disappointed. I really wanted it to be Charlize Theron and kind of like something about like her, as opposed to maybe like her origin story with the younger actor, who I'm sure is fantastic or
Yeah,
whatever.
okay.
And I don't know, it was just like that and Thor, and just something looked off about it, and so I just didn't want to go and be disappointed because I really, really like Fury Road.
Yeah.
And I saw the black and white, or the black and chrome, as they say, version of it at Anthology when they were doing. Is his name George Miller, the director? When they were doing a George Miller series at Anthology, probably about a year ago, and it is the most fucking kick-ass action movie I've ever seen in my life. I mean, without hesitation, I would say that. I mean, maybe my memory's not what it used to be, or maybe I haven't seen some other ones, but if we're talking like action movie,
No, it's absolutely brilliant.
I've never
Yeah.
seen anything that could top that. It was unbelievable. And the thing is, the colors are so great, and the color version is great. So I don't know what made the black and chrome even greater or different enough or to make it special, but it was just unbelievable. We were walking down there, people were stunned. Like there were two dudes who had seen it, I think, like multiple times, like two like buddies that this was their favorite movie. So they would look at each other every now and then. You could hear like a little like squeal from them, like, oh, here it is or whatever. The rest of the movie was just, I mean, the rest of the crowd was in stunned silence. They were just like the whole time.
What's it called?
Fury Road.
Fury Road.
Mad Max Fury Road, I think is the
It's brilliant.
I
It is
wonder.
good, yeah.
I've always
Yeah.
wanted to try this. Hey,
Yeah.
hey Ben, do you think it's possible to pull up maybe a trailer for Fury Road?
Go for it. And
Maybe get it onto the screen? Or?
and then afterwards, when everybody was rolling out, they were still kind of dumbfounded. Like people were like kind of stumbling out of Anthology. It was like a really crisp, I think like late winter evening, and we were just like talking to each other like, is that like the greatest thing you've ever seen? Is that like,
Oh, there
you
it
know, and we were just all kind of stunned. So anyway, it was really something else.
Yeah, let's check it out. Let's see.
Sure. Go full screen though.
As our first podcast, we're testing the technological
Yeah,
capabilities.
nice.
Yeah, it works. Amazing.
Oh, it's got that. We'll let this go roll if you want. Should we talk over it or just let it roll?
Whatever we want to do.
No, I think you want to talk over because I think it's the right
Well, it
direction.
is.
Yeah.
It's got great commentaries about so many aspects of contemporary society. I mean, that's one of the other things. It's truly brilliant allegorically, and beyond that, I totally lost my train of thought. She's great in it.
No, and she's absolutely a vision in the film. She's absolutely one of the great. It's one of the greatest.
The amount of
performances.
production value that goes into these movies, it's just like every single detail. It's just amazing.
It's totally phenomenal. If you get a chance to see the,
Because they kind of fucked
the
him on,
black and the chrome.
on Thunderdome, so they had to really let him do what he wanted to on this.
Yeah, and it's been a while since they put out a Mad Max movie.
Yeah, and again, they had taken
okay.
Thunderdome away from him in the middle of the shooting.
Yeah,
So there was a lot of hesitance for him to make this film.
yeah. Oh, what I was gonna say is there's a beautiful. One of the things I like about all the other stuff that's great, there's also a great cinematic trick that kind of goes back to Le Jour se lève, or maybe before that, where in the middle of the protagonist or the character doing something, they're completely overwhelmed by memory. So they almost lose touch with their present moment as these memories are like taking over their mind. And that kind of repeats as like a motif throughout this film too. And it's brilliantly done. And I could totally relate to it, you know, on a personal level. Yeah, you relate to it on like the most intimate personal level. As far as, you know, on the macro level, what it says about like our world and our society and civilization, it's just like spot on.
Where it's going, where it
yeah,
could be.
yeah,
What's your background in film?
yeah.
I-
I taught film for
where?
a long time, but I didn't actually study it. You know, I know, John, you studied film. I actually studied
Yeah.
studio art, so my focus was mainly with whatever studio arts and visual arts. And then how I kind of got into film was there was a graduate assistantship opening in the media department. So
Where?
at NYU with a professor that was like the head of the media department. He was a video artist. So he wanted to hire me, and then if he hired me, then I wouldn't have to pay tuition. So obviously it was highly motivating to get this job. And but I'd really been just a traditional visual artist for the most part. But if I was going to get the job, one of my responsibilities would be that I would have to kind of assist him, do some trainings, you know, maybe tutorials, things like that. So then I had to learn media stuff. So I had to then really teach myself at least the basics of, you know, Final Cut Pro was what we were using back then. Different video stuff. I knew I had to make video art. I knew I had to take this guy's class. You know, I had to do that kind of stuff. So I had to start making media art, and I had to understand it well enough that I could teach it to other people. And then after I graduated, I started doing more video and media stuff. I knew people in the theater that were looking for someone to do like videos for their show or things like that. And so after I
did
got
some
out
of
of
that
school,
back in the day,
yeah,
yeah,
after I
so-
got out of school, I started doing more and more media stuff. And then I got an opportunity to teach film. And then I realized that I had maybe a decent art historical background, but I felt I was kind of lacking a film historical background if I was going to be teaching film. So then I just really went and intensely
That's
started
amazing.
started to see as many films as I could.
Good for you.
So that I
It's
could
very hard to motivate
speak.
yourself to become a self-taught
Yeah.
film guru.
Yeah,
of
but that's
sorts.
not that hard. I mean, to really have an excuse to like go to the movies all the time. I mean, there are worse
fair.
things to like force yourself to do. I mean, that's how I felt about it all the time. Like I had a really genuine professional reason to like be in the theater watching like another movie and another movie and another movie. So I didn't find that to be too much of a sacrifice. So that's how I got into movies. For
And
the
so
most
you've been
part.
teaching kind of your whole career?
Well, I've been teaching something or another, my whole life for the most
Amazing.
part, or my whole adult life or whatever. Well, I just kind
That's
of
why I
got
said
into
career.
it. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. For sure I have.
Well, that's
Mostly.
amazing. I was just
Yeah.
curious. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
so
John,
that's it.
I know
Yeah.
you worked at ABC for many years.
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been all over the place. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been ABC, BBC, CBS, NBC,
But-
ARD. I mean, I've been bounced around.
and it's cool. You work with like the satellites and everything.
I did. Yeah, I was a satellite engineer for years. I ran a satellite truck, all that kind of stuff.
I like
Nice.
the quantum,
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
I had a nice satellite truck in one of my graduate show paintings. It's
Really?
really sweet. Yeah, I did this thing where you could have 2-person shows, like you and another student could put forth a proposal for this gallery space. And it had to be a 2-person show. So there was somebody who I got along with pretty well. He was in a different program. He eventually came into my program, which was great for him, but it was kind of cool because we were in different programs. We were going to collaborate and stuff. And I tended to do very super bright, poppy paintings. And he did these historical paintings that were kind of satirical or whatever, but it really would be like Davy Crockett like tripping or something like that was the kind of thing he did. And so we thought it would be interesting if we painted on each other's paintings. So we each started a painting, then we switched, and then we like finished
fun.
the each other's paintings because we were coming from these kind of two different places. The one professor who was the head of the program who had, I would say, almost no emotional warmth whatsoever. And I think rather on purpose, this gentleman. However, in the 2 years that I worked with him, almost everything he ever said was absolutely true. And I think that's a pretty good record. And I could forgive him for his lack of emotional, warmth if he's going to be that accurate all the time. But anyway, he would say it was like one of those episodes where like the Jetsons visited the Flintstones
Yeah.
or whatever. He came up with that analogy. And it was nice. So he did some painting of medieval healer or plague or something. And I did a little mini like pop flat graphic like satellite truck of people kind of recording it. So I hadn't thought about that in a while. So you brought me back to a really nice painting. That we did
love it.
together. Yeah. So we had like our individual paintings and then our two kind of collab paintings.
Well, you were talking about the Motley Crue biopic.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had a
The dirt.
My brain is hardwired.
Yeah.
Very interestingly, I started thinking about how in the future everyone is going to. I don't know how far into the future, but we've got contacts with cameras in it. Everyone's live streaming. It's just going into that direction.
I hope not.
It is. I mean, 100 years, 200, whatever.
Yeah.
It's going into that direction.
I don't think so.
It will be a niche. I'm not. I don't think it's universally going to be accepted, right?
What won't be or will be?
Just cybernetics, I think we could call it, right?
Oh.
But you forget something, okay? To train large language models, to train AIs, okay? You're talking about generating quantities of carbon that are astronomical. To train ChatGPT-3 generated enough carbon for 7 transatlantic flights. And the expense and the cost of this, as compared to training a human being, which would be far more intelligent.
No, this
The fact
doesn't have
is-
to do with AI, though.
I'm saying constantly. Think about this for a second. Okay, this technologization of American life is only possible if everyone else on Earth doesn't have it because there is not enough electricity. There are not enough batteries. There's not enough of the capability to harvest energy. Why would we? I mean, but this all may be gone.
Are you calling for a revolution?
No. I mean, I'm saying.
No, I mean it's
this all may
very
be gone in 100
doable.
years.
If we
that's
redo our
unfortunately very
infrastructure,
likely.
I mean it's very doable to make it happen. I mean it's
Where
not
were you going, though?
impossible.
What was your original
My question
point?
is
Yeah.
very simple.
Yeah.
It's just, do you think that there will be a need or a desire to create biopics anymore, or can you just record your whole life and kind of like that Robin Williams movie, The Cut or The Final Cut, just have it already out there as you're living, being
Or would
recorded?
anybody care because they're watching your broadcast all the time?
I mean, it's
through
crazy. It
whatever.
makes me wonder.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, because they're not the
Where
same
is the
thing.
future of
Yeah.
cinema? I think that's the general question.
That's the
We hit
one
on
of
the
those-
history, we
that's
hit on
one
the
of old-
present, let's hit the
yeah.
future and be
That's
done.
one of those questions that's completely unanswerable. Nobody knows. I actually know the answer to this. No one has a clue. And no
But
one's
we
ever had a
do.
clue. No one's ever had a clue. Siskel and Ebert talked about it. People
There are
when
so
it
many
was going to sound,
predictions.
But
they
there's certain
have
things
no
we
idea.
know. For
They
example,
have no idea.
small formats favor close-ups. So, for example, in early television and in early cinema, the camera was very, very close to the face. Larger formats favor panoramic shots. So, for example, with the emergence of certain type of sort of the bigger cameras, the big television cameras, and the modern cameras, and for example, in a film like Raise the Red Lantern, like you'd see this massive composition of panoramic images. So we know that while people are mostly enjoying things on cell phones, the images are going to tend towards close-ups, period. If people segue out of viewing on a cell phone to, going back to,
Bigger
larger
screens.
screens, it depends. That's what we don't know what the taste is going to be,
That's
but
what
we
I'm
do
saying.
know
Point.
once that taste is chosen, what that aesthetic will be. If it's a large format, we'll start to see panoramic images again, longer shots. But if it's small format, it's going to be quicker shots and more close-ups.
Yeah, but I'll also defend the large screen of close-ups. I think
it's beautiful.
close-ups on the large screen is now where you're really getting where it's at. In fact, there was a series of Zhang Ziyi films that were just playing recently at Metrograph, and unfortunately, most of the films aren't really that great. However, when her face fills up the frame and you're looking at it on a big, huge screen in a movie theater, it is transcendent. My Lord. And she is a incredible actor, but her face can fill the screen like few others. Swear to God. And so, like I said, it's I wish she had done better. I wish she had done.
Passion Donark. I mean, you can't.
I wish she had
you can't
done
see a
better.
greater film than that. I mean,
I
yeah,
wish
it's
she had
amazing.
done. I wish she had done better movies, but a big giant close up on a huge screen is a wondrous
Would
thing.
VR
Yeah.
goggles be
Yeah.
considered large screen
Yeah.
or small screen is the question.
Those things. I hope they're.
I think
doomed.
that's a
I
large
hope
screen.
they're doomed to die. I don't know. We'll
Nah,
see.
there's going to be arcades with VR. I mean,
Maybe who knows? All I'm saying is I don't
With-
know.
with the-
They're so dystopic.
with the
The
Neuralink
end.
chip.
I want to say dystopic, but I don't think it's a word. I think the word's
I
dystopia.
mean, I
But
think
they're
VR
so
is kind of
dystopian.
like the
Yeah.
middle ground.
Yeah.
I think it's just a placeholder for the Neuralink chip, because
Yeah,
you're going to
we'll
be
see.
able to experience lifetimes and seconds with your brain.
Brainstorm.
It's
Yeah.
going to be
Natalie
total
with last
interesting.
film.
Total Recall.
I mean, do
Yeah.
you think that could be a reality, our reality,
Jeez,
in
I
our
don't know.
lifetime?
Maybe.
No.
No.
Maybe, but who
No.
knows?
No.
There'll be some people who'll go against it. I know it won't be my reality. I'll go be on some beautiful mountain looking at the sea or something like that. I don't feel like.
But you would not be
brain
able
chipping
to
my way.
differentiate reality from.
No, but I've been being born at the time I was
reality.
born and stuff like that. Well, but then we don't know if we're in reality right now.
But then if you get
I mean, we can go down
confused-
that. Yeah, but we
and
that-
you lose your memory,
Well,
and you forget that
that
you're
could be
in
but that could be what
a
we're doing right now.
simulation.
We
So
could be in a
why
simulation
are we
right
in a
now.
simulation right now?
Yeah, so that's just you
But
just
here's
go back
the thing,
to that
okay?
one.
Okay, so the value of these things is,
Yeah.
is to make some kind of transmission of information, some aesthetic moments, kind of work of art. Yeah, I mean, other than like even in the case of
So you're asking, what's the point?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, objectively speaking, like
Entertainment,
okay, I'm in this VR
education.
world, and I get to read a book in the VR world.
No,
or
you
a
get
movie
to
in the VR world.
experience a lifetime. You get to learn your lessons through another life without dying,
I mean,
for example.
You hear this described in Gibson, right? You hear this. It's
Or
all
you
over
could-
in Burning Chrome. It's
Be
this
used for
envision-
therapy.
Total Recall.
I mean,
Well, Total
there-
Recall
there
isn't
are
that. Remember, Total Recall
applications.
is Schwarzenegger remembering that he's forced himself to forget something.
Yeah. Right.
It's
because
different
of an
than
implant.
instead of having everything implanted in his mind. What is
No, it is
You're
implanted
right,
in
you're
his
right, you're right,
mind.
You're right.
Yeah, it
You're
gets
right.
implanted
You're
in
right.
his mind,
I didn't
yeah.
think of it that way. I was thinking from the other
Yeah.
perspective, him having forgotten it,
Yeah.
not having it be implanted. You're right.
Right,
Yeah, I didn't think
If
of
you
that. Yeah.
approach the movie both ways, watching
Yeah.
one side each way with that mindset, it
Yeah.
works both ways.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It does. Total Recall is
But it's funny. We watch it
great
from the
film.
different
It's
perspectives.
a sneaky
It's
great
funny.
film.
I watched. Yeah, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great film. No, I mean, yeah, it's one of my favorite films. But I mean, look. I would like to see a well-made movie before I would see a well-made VR film. I don't know what a well-made VR experience is.
I'm not sure it would be a film as much as an
Yeah.
experience.
But what would that experience mean?
Could be
Experiences
like an
aren't.
open. Could be like an open world. Could be like an open world adventure.
I mean,
game.
it would-
so you
it-
just jump in, and now you're like in
Well,
the
that's
world
kind of
of
what Meta is doing.
Skyrim, but it's
You could
like
go
a little
shopping.
slicker now.
You could.
Yeah,
I get the
that's
same
socialize
boring
with
experiences
people.
that I
That'd
have
be
in
the
life.
That'd be the saddest thing. If you're not on
I
some
mean,
sort of
come
high,
on.
you're
There's
on some
people
sort of
for that.
high adventure and stuff like that. I couldn't imagine. That would just be.
I mean, Meta's a
That
really
would just be
creative.
crazy.
But I mean, even that's
What a
just
what a
terrifying.
what a
It's
waste of a precious
I
human
spent-
life. I mean, as if like just
I mean, we
going around
FaceTime
and
with people
shopping.
now, so what's the difference? I mean,
You're talking to a person when you're doing that.
Yeah.
You're not running
Right,
around
so
like
that's
an
what-
adventure
with your
world.
mom.
I mean, those.
That's
there would
different
be
than, like,
other people
than
that would be on
going
the
in
internet.
And taking
There
care
would
of
be
like some fake
Other
farms
people with
somewhere.
avatars.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what
then why not
And
just
you can
that-
just like
that's
them
what Meta
online
is
too.
why
doing.
I
do you
mean,
have to mediate
I don't
it?
see
Why would you have to
I mean,
mediate it? Why not just go talk to a person like we're talking to you right now?
Hmm?
Why do I have to go?
Because you're
pick up-
confined by geography. You can't
Right.
speak to. I mean, this is what we do with
Right.
the internet right now. We're talking to other
Right.
people in real life, in real time. I mean, who you cannot have access to. You could talk
Maybe.
to thousands.
But what
millions
does
of
VR
people
change
what's
about
the,
that?
Yeah, what's the advantage? I'm still getting lost. And yeah, what so?
What's the? I mean,
Yeah.
it's more. What's the word?
You can talk to
Not
somebody on the other side of the
interactive, but-
world.
Immersive.
Immersive. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
Yes, it's more immersive. You use more of your brain to feel the interaction.
More than if you're outside walking on a beach.
But there are some people who are inaccessible.
Yeah, no, I understand, but they've got access to something, don't they? Then we need to liberate those people. They're stuck in some like horrific prison condition, and the only way they can have a conversation with someone is to put on some headset and talk to an avatar on
Or-
the other
or
side
they
of the
just
world.
don't have the
Then
money
we
to
need
travel.
then we need to get them more money. Then we need to liberate them. Then that's what I would say. Then humanity needs to be liberated if we have to fall back on putting on a headset so we can talk to somebody and
Yeah,
have
it's
a
very
conversation with
interesting.
somebody.
No, I mean,
there's a lot of.
but again, I mean,
nuances to
I'm not
this.
even talking about the
Liberation.
practical. You guys are very. I mean, I
Yeah.
do probably think there's probably practical applications of VR and AR in medicine,
Medicine,
engineering,
therapy,
Sure.
therapy. That's
maybe.
well. Here's the thing. People would. I've been
training
thinking
for
about
a
this
certain
a
kind of
lot.
mission, maybe
been thinking
you could
training
go
for a
through it all.
mission.
Sure.
People who have experienced
Yeah.
trauma or PTSD, it could be helpful for them to relive certain triggers with a different outcome.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really, really bad sci-fi film. That sounds like that
Yeah.
sounds like
Or a
if it
really
was
good
film,
one.
a really good
Or
one,
really
like
good
torturing people
sci-fi
to death. I
film.
mean, it's horrible things. No, you
Yeah.
don't re-trigger
Yeah, I mean,
anyone.
Or Fury
there's
Road.
so much potential.
No, it's like let's like putting someone in a rocket. I mean, we're sending to the moon. So much potential.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, don't-
There's something for everyone. I mean,
Sure.
No, but
Absolutely.
It's
I'm
just,
so
but
crazy enough to
just
create
in
it.
terms of an aesthetic experience, what is to actually sit down and say, like, I got a film to say, I got something to say, I'm going to say it. I'm not sure that's an experience. I am not sure an artistic piece is ever going to be an experience. I think an artistic experience is a cognitive experience, which requires a degree of separation. I think immersion is directly confounds, if anything, an aesthetic experience. An aesthetic experience should be it's sort of like distanced. You are a contemplation, and if you're all tied up in things, if you're lost in the moment, you're not lost in the film, and you're not lost in the story. You're not lost in the narrative. You have to be. It's that separation, and I think that's just not conducive to VR. I think VR puts you right in the middle of it, and that occludes understanding rather than contributes to it.
What's that museum?
Yeah, it doesn't mean it couldn't be a kick-ass experience, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to go be some crusader,
you get to go to different time
storming a
periods.
castle, and you throw one of those things on, and now
that
you're
would
like
be awesome.
going up the ladder.
What
and
happened to
they're
imagination?
jumping. They're
That's
I
not-
mean, you
that's
should be able to
so-
imagine any of that.
that's
I know,
so
but
limited.
that's what my mom
Whoa,
used to say.
what?
Yeah. Nobody
Wait,
used to.
did you hear what you just said? Imagination is limited?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
more limited when you put the QR on your face.
I mean, physically
But that's what my
limited.
mom used to say all the time. She hated TV for just that reason. She's like, you kids have no imagination anymore.
But-
Like,
but
we used to
then here's the
imagine
other
everything.
thing.
You guys just get
The
everything
radio, you mean?
programmed.
She's a radio fan?
No,
But
no,
then-
she didn't like any of that stuff. But she really thought that there was a huge loss of imagination when kids were watching TV all the time. And I remember thinking, oh, but Mom, but TVs allow us to like go to other places and experiences different times and stuff. And she'd be like,
And it's
And anyway, my
educational,
mom
you
was
know?
right, of course. Thank you, Connie.
I don't know.
She was right about that one.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's true.
Oh,
No, I mean
It's going to happen.
I'm sure it's going to happen. I mean, like, look, smell-o-vision happened too. We don't
Yeah.
have smell-o-vision anymore.
Yeah, it's
though I
true.
heard they're
That's a
bringing
bad
back
idea.
smell-o-vision.
Yeah.
I heard they're bringing it
There
back.
are lots of bad ideas.
I mean,
That's
the
why we
fact
can't
is,
tell.
I mean, there
In
was,
3D.
the original version. I mean, remember, I am now old enough to see 3 rollouts of 3D technology.
Yeah.
Make 3 generations of child vomit in a theater.
Yeah.
I mean,
They seem like they all got worse, too. Like, it gets worse every time. Every time they try it, it gets a little worse than the last time.
yeah, no,
It's
it's,
like really
it's
weird.
ever more nauseating. It's ever
Yeah.
more disturbing. I mean,
What
Well,
was
that's
the
because it's
horrible
not
jet?
done correctly. I mean, it's gimmicky,
Really?
I think.
I just think it's just bad.
A good
I think it's really-
IMAX 3D
so
experience.
one of my
is not
favorite
bad.
experiences from
I don't
Stuyvesant
know.
High School
Yeah.
was they brought out the 3D porno film.
Yeah.
That from the early 80s. They did a 3D porno and they put it right back. And you know where IFC is now? Mm-hmm. They showed it there. And I remember like everyone from Stuyvesant went after the midnight movie to see the 3D porno film. And it was
Sponsored by the high school?
no. I think we do.
No, I think it was
I don't
just
think.
a
I don't
coincidence.
think
Yeah,
we
I'm
did it through a
getting-
film
I'm a
club.
little
I don't think we did it
confused.
through a film club.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just everyone.
Oh, just
They
everybody
just
knew
didn't
it was
check
happening.
IDs.
We just
I mean,
spread
it was in the
spread
Village
word.
Voice. There's a
Spread
big-
the
there's
word.
big
I
stuff in New
understand.
York.
No, you just connected to the high
It's
school.
3D.
Hold on,
Yeah.
back up. I'm
Wasn't
more interested
sure
about
what you
the
were saying.
3D porn experience. What is that even?
You put the glasses
Oh,
on?
it's so
really
wrong,
is what
dude.
I
It's
would
just so
imagine.
wrong.
Yeah.
It was classics from porn. It was classic porn
Why?
actors. The whole thing.
So that's why I can't go to the IFC. There's something about that place that always just kind of skeeved me out. Now I know what
I
it
also
is.
saw Lawnmower Man there.
Yeah. They show great
They're
movies in
horrible
IFC,
film.
but I just
That movie
I
sucks
can't
so
make
bad.
myself go in there. And now you know what? This is something that has confounded me for years and years, John. You've finally answered that question. Now I know
You've
why I
opened
can't
so many
go.
doors today.
Yeah, why I can't go to the IFC. It's just something about that place. And I look up and I like, oh, those movies are great. I just can't.
There's a smell
I just
in here.
can't. I can't go in there. I can't go into that place. But you can get very good coffee at Fada, located right at the top of the stairs of the West 4th Street. So if you ever check it out, it's still like just $1.50. It's really good. They have half and half. Really strong coffee. Ladies are kind of mean in a charming way.
But you talk about it. It's like again, like it's so bad cinematic ideas. I mean, it's just the fact is that there's a lot of like really. I mean, you forget there's a lot of just bad fucking cinema. The fact is that every fucking great movie is pretty fucking simply shot. I mean, even take last year Marienbad, which is maybe I think like the great fucking experimental film of all time. Like right, like fundamentally, any director could execute that film. It's the fact that Alain Resnais executed it that makes it a work of genius. There's a real issue I think in Hollywood now, which is that like you have a thing where you have branded films and you with no concept at all of who's making it or why they would make it at all. And I don't see that ending. I think that's what's interesting going to be. I think it's like, it'd be like you'll get a VR experience of what it's like to be a hot chick. You have to walk down the street, it's a hot chick, and it's like you can, I guess. Find all these experiences.
Is that what you would do with VR?
No, it'd probably be.
Is that your?
No, I know. You know that's going to be one of the things I would do.
But when it is, I'll come.
Gorilla, maybe.
I'll let you know, John, when that comes out. Did you ever see Strange Days? It was like a
strange.
Yeah, but that's the experience when
it's
he's selling
Bigelow, right?
when he's selling his unit, when he's trying to sell his unit to other new people. That's exactly what the experience is.
Yeah, it's when I still.
It's like a guy taking.
Catherine Bigelow, right?
Yeah, a guy taking a shower.
So when I liked her as a director.
A guy taking a
I
shower
love that film,
as
actually.
like an 18-year-old woman, and he's like, "Wow, I can't believe that's so real." And he's like, "Now you know its potential." Yeah, but that's exactly what he chooses to do.
Yeah,
or at least that's the one that he brings to kind of like get people to buy the product.
Yeah.
Is an 18-year-old girl taking a shower.
You forget when you forget when the internet first happened, the whole live cam experience that we just kind of forget now, kind of get lost in the memory.
Strange Days is a missed
It's now
opportunity.
called OnlyFans.
Yeah, Strange Days is a missed opportunity.
But OnlyFans is different because it's not on 24 hours a day. I mean, remember there was co-ed apartments, and people would just log in and just like watch co-eds take showers and shit. I mean, like that's the kind of useless shit that VR is going to generate. It's not going to generate anything.
But it'll also
genius.
generate masterpieces too, though.
Like what? I mean, I can't see
Sure,
it.
it will. No, it will. It just will. It just will by sheer
Default.
statistics.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be 1,000 horrible things, and some geniuses
Just
with
one
their
person's
friends
gonna make
will
it all
make
worth it.
one. Will make a VR masterpiece.
But to me, let me
I
ask you
think so,
an
too.
honest question.
Yeah.
It has now been solid 15 years of interactive experiences that you could go to of merits. Have you ever seen any of these, like at the Lumiere place or anything like that have ever been of any
There is an
interest?
No, but
excellent zombie
that's not
VR
what
game.
Yeah, it's not what I'm talking about. No, I haven't, and I think that's. But I think that's just a tragedy. Are you talking about like Van Gogh's paintings come to life?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's not even attempting to make art. That's just a cash grab. That's just a sick, disgusting cash grab.
I think once
but
AI
it
picks
works.
I
up-
did take my kids
but
to the
people
Impressionist
are-
one in Rome because we were coming out of COVID,
Yeah, but
and
it
there
works.
was nothing going on.
Yeah.
And it was actually kind of pleasant to walk around with all this stuff projected on the walls, but there wasn't anything I would say artistic
Oh, I
to
wouldn't,
it.
wouldn't mean it's. I wouldn't say it's necessarily
I just
unpleasant,
remembered,
but that's just a nightmare to me. So for me, that's like really dark. You
There's
just
an
picked a really
exhibit.
dystopian-
There's
Yeah,
a
that's why I said it's the only thing I can see
Yeah,
VR
yeah.
going
there-
towards.
there- there's-
somebody will make something beautiful.
There's a I forget what it's called. There's an exhibit
Mm-hmm.
of a VR exhibit where it's a giant warehouse. It's coming to New York actually pretty soon. Of ancient Egypt. And so you walk through the,
See, I
the
can't
history.
deal with that either. I understand.
I mean, it was
how
really
could you
cool.
I understand,
not?
but
I
you
did
can't.
not,
It was
dude.
really
well, you can
cool.
just bring up whatever Assassin's Creed Ancient Egypt on
Yeah.
YouTube and just like watch a walkthrough if you want to do that or whatever. I mean, I guess you could put the goggles
I
on.
mean, sure,
I
there's
just mean
alternatives,
I just think somebody will eventually make a masterpiece with it just because in any given medium some genius will come along or somebody will just have one great idea or something.
But I
that
also
will be
think
great.
it's a
I have
stepping
yet
stone.
to see a working
I also
genius
think
done
it's
in
a stepping
Spirograph.
stone.
Yeah, but why would you make? Well, one I think what Elf did with Spirograph. Oh, Spirograph. Sorry, I was thinking of Etch a Sketch. I thought kind of what Elf did with the Etch a Sketch was pretty interesting.
I think I have seen great works of art done on Etch a Sketch.
And
Yeah. There are.
yeah, so that's happened. So there you go. And yeah, that's funny. But yeah, toys are a different sort of something.
Do
But
children
Etch a
even
Sketch-
still have Etch a Sketches?
It's I don't know, but it was funny and
It's kind of
Elf
like the Game Boy.
how he was like so good.
It's out there somewhere.
Yeah, hits and misses. There are lots of misses. You know, we forget about all the bad stuff. That's it. There's so
Get
many,
lost to
so many
history.
movies and so many games that are cranked out every year. You just
yeah.
like,
Exponentially.
yeah, you're never gonna see all that stuff. There's so much bad stuff, but you wade through it and you find the gold.
But the good stuff sticks.
yeah,
It's
like
time.
Final Fantasy VII. That'll always be.
They just made a
I
sequel.
have to
That'll always be-
say that was the greatest.
Yeah.
That was the last video. That was the game that made me stop playing video games.
Yeah.
They just made a sequel to it, Rebirth.
yeah.
It's amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, it's actually
Yeah, and somebody will do that with the headsets if
Been
we
waiting 20
live that
years for it.
long, or if they last, or if people just don't reject it. You know, we'll see what happens with this generation coming up. They might just be sick of all
the
of that.
beginning of VR. The purpose is to try to truly immerse yourself by way of various, electrodes, etc., so that you experience things by sitting wherever you are. You think you're walking, you think you're flying, you think you're anything.
Yeah.
Completely putting yourself into the computer world.
it's
by way of a
fully immersive.
How
And,
gross.
and once the Neuralink, I mean, it's just game over.
I think it's game over. You have a great night.
yeah,
Let me go back. I feel.
How are we doing on time, Ben?
yeah. I will. I'll be on that. I'll be on that.
8:52. They'll be kicking us out shortly.
Yeah.
So let's wrap. I think we're good, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. This first
it's a
episode,
wrap?
man, I
Gentlemen,
felt that-
thank you so much for
Do we
joining
want to?
us.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
do
We
you
should have a
wanna-
formal wrap. Yeah.
Any last words?
No.
We're good?
I enjoyed myself. I want to hear last words from John because he seems like he wants to run away.
Yeah.
John, any last
Yeah,
words?
where are you going,
I'll
John?
say I have a migraine. So I would.
Oh, that's it. Well, then I'll have a last word. I think last year Marion Bad is one of the great frauds in cinema history. Don't watch it, kids. It's a
Okay.
piece of
Really, I
crap.
love Marion Bad. I love Elena Berlin. You don't wait. Hold on, hold on. I have to ask
No,
you
no.
this. Why don't you like Marion Bad?
It's one of the only great reputable movies, somewhat seen as a masterpiece, which is actually just terrible.
Why do
it's
you
a
say
mess.
that?
It's a mess. It's a mess. There's no there. It's one of the very, very, very.
It's just super rope to
Few.
play.
Oh, it's
It's a brilliant. The script is brilliant.
Oh, it's not
absolutely.
brilliant.
It's straight. It's
not brilliant.
It's straight up jealousy. It's
It's
absolutely.
yeah. Well, we disagree.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a sham. It's one of the few things that's really put up as like a great work of art that's actually just a big bunch of junk. It is. It looks so tricksy, and it looks so, and you're kind of like, ooh, look, there are shadows, and ooh, look, see that lady again, and oh, look, it's a, the profiles at different angles, and oh, look at that wide shot. It just doesn't all add up to anything.
It absolutely does. It's absolutely an application of the techniques that are happening in Novelle Roman
Yeah.
at that moment in time. It is an absolute attempt to eliminate any kind of psychology, which is honestly bullshit anyway, especially cinema psychology. Eliminate it from the artwork. Eliminate anything but except show the pure geometry and the absolute behavior of the actions. And there you see interior to Marienbad, interior to Robespierre Braid's spread, and then execution of it, which is technically perfect. The fact is that
Oh, there's
for
a lot,
in
lot of
terms
tricksy
of
moves.
the left bank
there's
cinema.
a lot of tricksy moves
No,
in
no,
there.
no.
I'm
In
not saying
terms
there's
of
not.
the left
Boy,
bank
John,
cinema,
your voice is
in
getting
terms
really
of the
big right
left
now.
bank cinema,
How-
if you would
you know
stop
what? Hold on.
interrupting me and let me finish
Did
my
I get
point.
that straight? Is that the in terms
No, in
of
trying
the
to into my
left
bloody
bank
point,
cinema?
bloody hell.
How
If you want
about
to talk
in
over bloody
terms of the
points.
left
Oh,
bank
I'm
cinema?
sorry. Did I talk
Gentlemen,
over
gentlemen.
you? Did
You-
I talk
you
over
did.
you?
You-
Did I talk over
Are
you?
you doing it
Thank
now?
you. Yes, I am. Because
What?
I've been talked over. So, in terms of
Well,
the left bank cinema,
yes.
as a perfect execution of what cinema was at that moment in time, there's no question that he is up there with Verdun, and absolutely no question he's up there with Louis Malle. There's no question of the technical mastery of Elaine Rie in that film. Period.
I will watch
Yeah.
this and I will make my
And
point.
your emotional outburst really convinced me.
At least I have a soul.
As opposed to.
An empty husk.
Oh, I see.
Oh.
That's it.
You're going to have to explain to me, elaborate
Yeah.
on a little bit on this.
Yeah.
Why is there no psychology in the film?
Yeah.
I
What's
see
the
a
point?
symbolism and
I'm
just
glad you care so much. I'll look at it. Well, next time I watch it, though, I
Psychology.
don't think I could really make myself watch it again. But if I ever do, I will take everything you said deeply into consideration.
Remind me again, what's it called?
Last year at Marienbad.
The Last Year with
At
Marion.
Marienbad.
And what is it about? What's the synopsis?
A
It just-
woman
it
goes
just-
to a
you tell
spa
her.
in Cologne,
Yeah.
and she is told there that she had an affair with a man last year in Marienbad. It's the first year she's been there.
She was
And
told
as she
that.
goes, as
Okay.
she goes through the film, and through this year in Marienbad, and through this point, she remembers what had happened to her, as it's confused with the present. And the two things are points, and you are specifically put through the film at every point to disturb what is your sense of time and space in it. And things are constantly rearranged.
It's kind of cool. I mean,
It was
in theory.
an
You check
absolute.
it out. See for yourself what you think.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I will.
And I would look at the novel that precedes it that Robespierre wrote, Jealousy, which is really, truly a much maligned novel. As maligned as Last Year in Marienbad. Let's be clear. His opinion is the one that is the main one. Mine is not.
Totally not true. Totally not true. It is held up as one of the greatest movies ever made.
If ever there was a reason
By
to
people
get
like me.
angry, this would be it. I've never seen
No,
John
by
so
most,
angry.
Most people hold up. Like, just if you were to go like top 100 list or greatest movies of all time or greatest experimental movies or greatest movies of the decade or whatever, it's always up there at the top. Always
Alright.
up there at the top. But I think, in my opinion, there are sometimes art where it's a bit of a tricksy play, a bit of a no there. Now, maybe I'm just not sophisticated enough to see the that's there behind the no that's there. But
There's an audience for everything.
there isn't.
No, I mean, if you just told me
Absolutely.
no there, I'll say that for Tarantino. In a second, I'll say that for Tarantino. But I don't say, I'm sorry, I was,
Yeah.
particularly with Renee.
But who's-
I'm a big Renee fan. I really,
Well, yeah, he's made some great films.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
exquisite.
yeah. I'm not saying anything about him. I mean, everybody has a off day or tries something and swings and misses. I mean, I think you should swing for the fences, and if you miss, I think that's great. In that regard, I'll give lots of credit for Last Year at Marienbad. I mean, I'd rather somebody that really swing and miss than not to take a big cut. He took a really big cut.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll leave it with that.
yeah.
Beautiful.
I think you got some good stuff for your first podcast.
Gentlemen,
Oh,
thank you so much.
I have such a headache.
John, let's
Ugh.
get you healed up.
I'm sorry
Yeah,
for the outburst.
that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ugh.
Ben, I
Yeah.
hope you're still recording.
yeah. Hey, how'd
I
that
got a couple
go?
of seconds of video of your
He got
photo.
the apology. All right, we're good.
Oh, you did? Oh, good, good, good.
Smooth move. Excellent.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
Cheers, all.
yeah. How'd it look, man?